It was business as usual in the Premier League this weekend. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Saka, Haaland, and the man Mo Salah doing what they do best, delivering on opening day. Exciting results all around. Some of our predictions were well off, but we're going to talk about our teams, what happened this weekend, and whether Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City will be the three teams in the running for the title come the end of the season. And will Man United join them? Can they join them? And will there be any surprises? It's me and Craig here, live reporting. We're going to have Matthew and Mark sharing their thoughts later on. So we'll hear what they have to say about this weekend's results. We've got a lot to cover, a lot to hear about as well. And I want to start off with that idea of Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City winning again, carrying on or starting this new season in the right vein. For you, Craig, do you think that three will be the three that will be there running for the title coming in the season?
Yes. I don't know who's going to win it out of them three, but I feel
it was a
that's
good
going to be the
result
same as
for
last season.
Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City to start the season. All really getting comfortable wins at the end of the day. Like, obviously, the fact that they were all 2-0 means that there's not really a massive distinction between the three of them. Liverpool found Ipswich hard to break down in the first half, but really turned it on in the second half and took it to another level and was very, very good in the way that they kind of stepped up to a new level. And you also kind of got the impression that there were levels beyond that as well. So very, very good second half performance from Liverpool. Man City, again, just kind of got the job done, really. They were consistent and comfortable, and you have a typical kind of early season Man City, just getting across the line, doing what needs to be done, controlling the game. And I didn't see the Arsenal game, but I heard that they played well as well and got across got the couple of goals across the line, and the Wolves weren't really a major threat. So very, very good performances from the three of them.
I know Liverpool kind of fell off last season towards the end of the season. They kind of fell off a little bit. They lost ground, but I feel that with this new manager on the slot, he looks like he's a very good manager. So he hasn't brought any new players in yet. So that's a bit surprising, but I think he's going to try work out his squad and see who will stay, who will go. He's been really ruthless already with Carvalho's gone to Brentford, so he's just assessing the squad at the moment. Maybe Darwin Núñez might be the next one to go because he didn't play on Saturday. I don't know if he's in the manager's thoughts of the season, but it's a long season and going to need all these squad players in the team, so we'll see what happens.
I think Liverpool are currently the third best team in the Premier League, but I think 1, 2 and 3 are, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool are all in the same bracket in terms of if everything comes together, they can win the league, they'll be title contenders, they'll push and make an effort for bringing the Premier League title home. So yes, I still don't think Liverpool have what it takes to win the Premier League, but I think that Man City and Arsenal are probably a little stronger at this current point.
Yeah, it's going to be a long season, and they're definitely going to need to have the whole squad. And we will talk in a bit more detail about Liverpool's performance against Ipswich Town at the weekend. But you did mention about the ruthlessness of the manager, and I think it's interesting with Liverpool because one of the big conversations around them has been the support of the ownership and what they've done from a transfer perspective. Now, we know that Liverpool have historically spent a lot of money on players. They've, bought big in the past. But there could be some argument and fair argument to say what's going on right now in terms of their players, because when you look at it on paper, they've not done much this window, and midfield is an area where they do need reinforcement. Do you think their midfield is strong enough to go all the distance, or do you think they need to actually go in the market and actually get some players? And if they don't get any players in the market, what impact will that have on their season?
Well, they started Ryan Gravenberch on Saturday. I thought he had a great game. And he didn't play a lot last season. He had a lot of injuries, and when he did play, he'd come on as a sub, or he'll get injured and he'll come off. I think it's going to be a big season for him this season. It's his second season in the Premier League. Sometimes it takes new foreign players a while to get used to the league, maybe a year or so, 6 months or a year. He's in the Premier League for a year now, so it's his second season. So now he's adapting to and he's under a Dutch coach as well. So he knows the Dutch philosophy, so he'll be good to just work under the manager. Breath of fresh air. He'll feel like a new signing. So maybe the manager's going to trust his faith into him, and maybe you might bring in a player He tried to get Zubimendi from Sociedad. Sociedad said, Zubimendi said no. So maybe he's still looking in the market. We only got 2 weeks, under 2 weeks left of the market. It's on the 2 weeks now, and the market's going to be closed. So maybe Liverpool might do a last minute shopping.
It might, but again, like you mentioned, Zubimendi, that didn't work out. There's been several of Liverpool's top targets they've missed out on in the last couple of years. We can think of likes of Bellingham, Shamani, obviously both went to Real Madrid. Lavia as well, who turned down Caicedo. So there's 2 players that went to Chelsea, and we're going to talk about Chelsea because boy, they have not stopped shopping, and I don't know why. But do you think there is a concern that they're unable to attract their top targets? Because outside of, you go back to Luis Diaz, Virgil, although with Virgil, I think Klopp did enough to make sure there wasn't much of a market for other clubs for him.
Yeah.
I don't think they've really been in a situation where they've had to outbid like other teams and convince players to join them.
Yeah.
So do you think there's a concern maybe that they are struggling to attract talent to their team?
Well, Liverpool's a massive club. They've won the most Champions League in England. They've got a big history. They've won so many Premier League titles, or league titles, as I say. Their grounds are one of the best grounds to go. Anfield's one of the best grounds to go and play football and watch matches. If you're a fan, you know what I mean. And the Kop, and that 12th man at the Kop when you're playing against Liverpool, when they turn it on, they turn it on. So special place. I don't think that's the case. I feel the issue is that Liverpool are not going to waste money on players, overspend on players if they don't think it's right for the system. The owner's not going to waste money. Previous owners would have wasted money, i.e. Glazers, i.e. Todd Bowley, you know what I mean? They will waste money on players. They're not going to throw money around. Maybe they got a gem in the academy. They got a lot of good academy players coming through, like Trent came through, Conor Bradley came through last season. You got Dan came through last season. You got a lot of the young kids came through last season and did quite well. So maybe they got a gem in the academy brewing that might get opportunity this season. So maybe they don't really need to spend big money on players because they still got a good squad. The team that on Slot has inherited from Jurgen Klopp is a very good team. Like, I think the reason why they didn't do well toward the end of last season, they had a lot of injuries, and I think they played too many games caught up with them in the end. You can see that in the Europa League against Atlanta. They played too many games, too many injuries, and they couldn't cope. The squad was not big enough to cope with the injuries and whatever. And I feel that this season, I think they'll do well this season. I really do. I really think they'll do well. I don't know if they'll win any trophies, but I think they'll do well this season. I'm not sure because they're in the Champions League, League Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, and I don't know, their squad again, they have added to their squad, so it's going to see when they play on Tuesday, Wednesday, then they play on Sunday. How can they manage to rotate the squad to make everyone be fit and sharp? And players like Mo Salah's getting older, Van Dijk is getting older, and they didn't really replace Matip yet. They still got Konate, they got the young Quanta kid, so they have got defenders and all that. But I feel that it's just injuries and lack of form could cost them this season. So they have to be very sharp and ready for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a big test for them to see what they do. And like you said, they've got time to make some last-minute deals. And, of course, that fitness is going to be key, keeping those key players fit. One of those players that will be very instrumental to that is Mo Salah. And as we saw at the weekend, like I said, him, Haaland and Saka started off the year well. It's just what they do. This is what they do now. And I think from like an Arsenal perspective, when you think about Bukayo Saka and how far he's come in such a short period of time from being, you know, a young guy that was playing left back, then it was sort of like left wing and attacking midfielder for a brief period of time, to now right-sided forward, and that's cemented his place there. And looking at what he's doing numbers-wise and performance-wise, do you think Saka has reached a level to be an established Premier League star like what Haaland and Salah are, or do you think this is the season that will fully cement it?
I don't think Saka has reached Salah's level. Salah has produced what he's produced for 7 consecutive seasons in the Premier League and 2 in Serie A before that. So, I think, there are levels to this game, and I don't think Saka is on Salah's level of yet. Haaland, I think, does push himself onto Salah's level just by pure production. The man's a machine, and the fact that over the 2 seasons he's been here, he's got 30 odd goals, and a season, and all competitions up to 40, onwards close to 50 for one season. He's on the level, but Saka is doing what needs to be done to move him in that right direction. And I think he's definitely, there's no doubt, an established Premier League star. And I think this season will cement his place in being able to consistently move towards the best of the best in the league on a consistent basis. So currently produced and performing at a world-class level, and has been quite consistently for a couple of years now.
He's done it already. Last season, a lot of fans were not happy with him, but he still scored a lot of goals. Every season he's getting better and better. I feel like he watches the stars like Salah. He must watch a lot of Salah, maybe a lot of Iron Robin, because the goal he scored on Saturday was a Robin special.
Sure.
Cutting on his left foot, goal, bang, can't stop it. So I feel that every season is getting better and better, and with better and better, the numbers are gonna get better and better as well. Maybe this season we'll hit 20 goals this season. He might do it. Or maybe get loads of assists as well. So he could get into the 20 goal mark this season. All we're praying for, he doesn't get injured. That's the only thing, injuries. But he's been strong and fit since he's come into the team. He hardly gets injured, and he plays he's played a lot of matches for England and for Arsenal as well. So maybe this season we have to manage his games so he doesn't get too injured or burnt out. That's the only thing I worry about. But other from that, he's up there with Haaland and Salah. He's up there now.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is keeping him fit and make sure he doesn't have any burnout, like you say, because that would be a shame if he has to miss out. Because we know that the last season, and even the season before, his performances started to dip towards the end of the season. You could see, I think 2 seasons back, you could really see that he was struggling with fitness and form, suffered as a result. So I hope the club have and do look to bring in adequate cover. And I think it's something we will talk about in our next episode, about what Arsenal could do, because we'll see what happens between now and then. There's lots of talk about Mikel Merino and that deal getting closer. We had some quotes from Sociedad, one of their executives, talking about the fact that back in December, Mikel Merino named 3 clubs that if they came in for him, he's going to be ready to go. And they said, unfortunately, Arsenal, one of those 3 clubs, and we've now made that move, and that's why he wasn't part of their matchday squad in their first game of the season in La Liga. So there's lots of legs there that will hopefully get wrapped up before the weekend, so he'll be part of the squad for our next match away at Villa. But speaking of our matches and the weekend, obviously Man United started off the season a very late but very good 1-0 win. I say good. Winning is always good, so we'll give them that win at home. They didn't look the best, and midfield still looks like it's going to be a problem, and I don't know whether they're going to actually look to bring in more reinforcements to solve it, because it looked like there was just space all over the gaffer in the middle of the pitch. But that being said, do you think Man United can sustain a challenge for the title this year?
Not based on what I saw in the Fulham game. In all honesty, they didn't look like they were positioned to be able to make a threat to me. Still a long way to go, obviously, but they got a late goal. Bruno Fernandes looked good, had a couple of chances, but Leno made some good saves. But really, I don't think Manchester United were that impressive in the game. They didn't blow Fulham out of the water or nothing like that. And to be honest, they got the result, and that's about it. And it's kind of across the line. So, the main thing is that I think Man United are probably in contention for, that 4th spot with the likes of Aston Villa, Tottenham, and that's probably it, to be honest. So yeah, I think we'll see how it goes, but I would imagine that it'll be Spurs or Man United for that 4th spot, but I don't see them challenging for a title.
Fulham were very unlucky on Friday night. I watched the game. If they had a decent striker and if they had a decent guy who could pass the ball, they could have scored a couple of goals, because they opened up Man United so many times. The final pass was all over the place, just the heavy touch. But with Man United now, they bought Zertsky in. He looks a good player, quality player. I don't know why I didn't start him, but he came on and made an impact, scored the winner. That's what you need. You pay that money, big money for him. You need to do that big impact. And I didn't understand most of Mark starting in that game. I didn't understand it, to be honest with you. They had no striker. Rashford played on Garnacho could have made it 2-0. That would have killed the game off.
Should have made it 2-0.
Should have made it 2-0. Don't know what happened to him. The only issue I got in Man United again, I think, for this season is that Ten Hag has been at United for 3 years now, isn't it? 3 years now? He's won 2 trophies. FA Cup, League Cup, FA Cup. This season, he has to get Champions League football, because I'll have a hot take on this. I'll say they brought in Van Nistelrooy as a coach. If Ten Hag doesn't struggles in a couple of games and they don't get the results they need, Van Nistelrooy is there. He's waiting.
How many games do you think they'll give him? Because we had this discussion about Enzo Maresca at Chelsea and how many games he would get, and I think Matthew said something like 5 games. How many games do you think Ten Hag
I think they give him until October, November. I feel around that time is sacking season. So no, honestly, I feel that if they struggle in the league and they're not where they need to be, I think he's under a lot of pressure, because he was very close to getting sacked last in the summer. He was very, very close, but I think they didn't have adequate replacement to replace him. And I think they wanted to get a lot of rumours that they wanted to get Southgate, they wanted to get this one, like Kieran McKenna, that's Ipswich, they wanted to get a lot of managers who were like there to replace him. And I think they gave him the benefit of the doubt. Said, you know what, you won a trophy last season, we'll give you a new contract, but results have to change. Maybe he got a dressing down, the results have to change in the league. We need to be challenging for the title. I don't think they finished spending it. I feel they've still got a lot of deadwood, a few more deadwood players that need to go. And I think if they do that and they can get adequate replacements for them, I don't see why they can't challenge this season. They can't challenge for top 4. I can't see why they cannot, because they're consistent in cup competitions. They just need to do it in the league.
That's fair. That is very fair. They are consistent in the cup. They always seem to have something for everyone. So yeah, why can't they bring that form to the league? And I think that's the challenge now, and the opportunity for Erik Ten Hag, because if he can do that, then his job will be secure. And also it means that, Man United have another chance at the big time. And that their fans, they'll be very happy for them to see back in proper Europe. So we'll see if he can actually bring them over the line to that. But yeah, it's a long season. They've done the most important thing, which is get 3 points. Can't say the same about Chelsea, and we will talk about them a bit more. In fact, let's start with Chelsea. We'll talk about Liverpool and Arsenal after. But frustrating start. I think they would have gone into that game with a lot of positive thoughts, considering how they played Man City last season. I think they had their number on the 3 occasions they played them, 2 times in the league and once in the cup. And they made chances. What's your take on that match from Chelsea against Man City at Stamford Bridge?
It's disappointing, after watching the game. I caught the highlights after I was at work. I was keeping up on the scores, and I thought maybe they maybe gave a little bit of a game. A bit like how Ipswich gave Liverpool a game. Of course they lost, but they gave it a great go with a team with the fraction, the resources and the money that we have. And every other day you see us go for all these players. You see on Sky Sports News, every page that goes by, there's at least 1, maybe even 2 Chelsea players. They just did a whole section on Chelsea transfers, so you kind of expect a little bit more from bringing in this talent, and yet it was just a little bit of a whimper, really. And we've given City games in the past. Like last season, we were matching them like blow for blow. So I wasn't expecting necessarily a big, massive win. I can't even remember if I had them down to win the last episode, but I was expecting just a little bit more. It was so easy. Never mind the Haaland goal. It's Haaland. Of course, he's going to score. But Kovacic just went past over £200 million worth of midfielder we used to replace him, and scored goals. He didn't really score much for Chelsea, but he never scored goals like that. And he just made it like that. That's a Lampard-esque. Lampard would have been proud of that sort of thing. It was just really disappointing. Positives, well, 2 things. He's got choice. The guy's got choice. It's just come through now. The whole Gallagher, Felix deal's going through. He's got his back on. Looks like we're going to shift some more weight. Lukaku might be on his way to Napoli, and all this summer, this, that, and the other. Lavia, after the forgettable season he had last year, he looks like he's probably the best part in the whole game.
As soon as they took off Lavia was solid. They were only 1-0 down. As soon as Lavia came off and they brought on Dewsbury Hall and played Caicedo and Fernandez as two holders, and it didn't work. And you could see for the second goal, they went past both of them like they weren't even there. And Coventry's not the quickest player. He just
You just stroll past it.
just stroll past him. And I feel that Pochettino tried it last season, didn't work.
Well, why do you think it is? Why do you think they don't work as a pairing?
They're not. They've been there for a year now. And it hasn't worked between the two of them. I don't know if they don't communicate properly or what it is, but they just don't work well together. I don't know what it is. I feel when Enzo Fernandez plays for Argentina, he's a different player.
But he plays a different role for Argentina, though.
Where's he play for Argentina?
So Argentina, he's more like he's more of a deep line playmaker. No, he's more of a box to box creative player for Argentina. He doesn't sit and hold like he is at Chelsea. And I think when Lavia came off, when you played him as a base two, it felt more like the job was to sit deeper, create and dictate from deeper on the pitch. But at Argentina, you see him. He starts in the middle, but he will get forward. You know, he has other players like Rodrigo de Paul, and there's others that will do that kind of more defensive-minded, dirty stuff, and he does still do it.
Yeah.
But it's not his primary. He's primarily there to recycle the ball, get the team moving forward, get the ball to Messi, get them moving. So he's a lot more creative for Argentina, and I think for Chelsea in the first half, you were seeing those qualities on show because Lavia was the deeper man. He was more of an 8, so he had space to kind of roam and get forward. And when they changed it and made a double change and brought on Dewsbury Hall and Caicedo, like you said, his role changed, and you almost sit there and wonder why not just keep the same formation, just to bring in one guy in.
He's got to sort it out. He's got to organise it real quick. It took Poch the best part of 2/3 of last season to really get the midfield that he really wanted, and then we just started to see it bear fruit towards the end of last year. Caicedo looked like he was actually doing something towards the end of last year. Enzo Fernandez, well, I'll get to him in just a moment. Lavia, he's only really come back now after a year of just not being able to play because of injury and just making brief cameo roles. So, and of course with the absence of Conor Gallagher, him going the other way as well, is a whole other reset. Conor Gallagher, again, another one who found himself in that position, in that place where he's actually doing quite well. He's one of them dogged players, box to box, up and down. And he's one of our. Again, it's another one. It's one of our own where you just can't seem to find a place on the team for one of our own. We've lost so many of our academy prospects in Mount, in Abraham, in Tomori. 4 years ago, these guys were main starters at the club, and now they've gone. It's a sad state of affairs. That we were once known for our homegrown talent and just how talented they are and how much success you can have them when you really try, and to see that not many of them are left, it's really sad, and especially when a lot of them making a good part in the midfield. You damn right he's got to get it together. At the end of the day, Kovacic went for 25 million to the champions, and he just cut through like a knife through butter. It was so easy, and just throughout most of the game, we never really looked like we had that much of a command because our midfield was so disorganised, because our midfield just lacked that kind of maturity, and the elephant in the room thing where you got Enzo as captain after everything that's gone around with the whole pre-season tournament. A lot of players aren't going to look at it favourably. I said it last week. He doesn't have that kind of gravitas that other players in the past, where it's like, not saying that we're looking the other way necessarily, but you have stock in this club. So we're going to look at you a little bit different, but you still have a place in this club. With all due respect with Enzo, he's done nothing since he's gone here. So the fact that he's been picked as the captain, I don't think it helps. It reeks of remember when Luis Suarez, the incident with Patrice Evra, and Liverpool came out against Wigan the next game, all wearing his celebration pose on their shirt. It kind of reeks of that. I get you have to back your man. I get, you want to look like there's team harmony and all that kind of stuff, but there are better ways in doing it. I just think making him captain was potentially a bit of a mistake.
Lesson from Maresca, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a bit surprised to see him as the captain. I feel like with everything that's been happened, I don't think that was the right call from Chelsea. But again, if that's how they think they want to handle things, and so be it. I just think it didn't really send the right message. And yeah, I wasn't really impressed with that. But again, it's Chelsea Football Club. I'm not impressed with anything they do these days. Let's look at some positives. What do you think are the things that Maresca will take away from this game and feel like this is good moving forward, what they've learnt?
I think the create Gusto creating chances. He had a good cross when he played it in for Pedro Neto to score. It was a great tackle from Rico Lewis. What a tackle, last ditch tackle. That wasn't, if it didn't get there, it would have been 1-1. Game would have changed. I feel like he just needs to get the attacking balance right. I feel like once Pedro Neto is up to speed, he will start on the left or right. Cole Palmer needs to play more as a number 10.
You think so?
I think so. I feel he's wasted on the right wing. Honestly, I think he's really wasted on the right wing. I feel like you need a speedy winger and make Cole Palmer go more inside, and he can get on the ball, dictate on the ball more, like how Smith Rowe used to when Smith Rowe was at Arsenal. Like that, I think it's more of a. I would like to see him more as a number 10 than as out wide. I feel like because he hasn't got the pace like Madikele or someone like that, or Modric. Like he's more like he'll get the ball and just like tidy, but. Maybe more as a number 10, he can make them deep runs into the box like Lampard used to do and score goals for them. So yeah.
Look, this pre-season didn't help. All the travelling, all the disjointment, and players coming back from the Euros, performing, performing the way they did, especially the ones that actually got far in the tournament. They're going to be a little bit knackered, and they're going to find someone. They're going to struggle to gel in, and he needs time. He does need time to prepare. There's no point going in saying Enzo out when the guy's barely had that much time to work with a team, considering half of them come back for the Euros only a month ago, and considering that it almost feels like, again, we're preparing for the manager that has gone. And that's been Bowley's legacy since he's come in. He's preparing for a guy who ain't there no more. Like, the team we've had now, you could arguably prepare. You could take it far back as blooming Tuchel, for all we know. And then we just lost our manager, it's over a month ago. It's going to look like I do think this can be a good season, but it just looks like it's going to be another real struggle with all these new guys coming in and finding their spot. We've effectively signed a whole other team. We got a game on Thursday for the Europa qualifiers. Something's got to come from that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be very important this year. It wasn't his best ever game, but again, I think he did what he tried to make things happen, but it just wasn't really his day. Nicholas Jackson, on the other hand, I think you saw the good, the bad, and the ugly of the striker. The goal he put in, the offside goal, great finish, good movement. I think Daniel Sturridge put it best when he said that as a striker, looking across the line, you kind of know and expect that chance might come. Keeper might make a save and you get a chance to kind of follow in.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been offside.
Yeah.
It's criminal for him to be offside, and Daniel Sturridge is right to say that he shouldn't have been offside for that.
But it's the same familiar problems with having players like, with Nicholas Jackson again. He finds the net. It's the same old. He gets himself in these grand positions, but it's always like a foot, a toe, an elbow, a finger out of line, and sometimes you just miss these gilt-edged chances. That one where he fires right at Ederson, he really should be putting away. Any other day he's putting away. If Haaland can, manhandle two of our defenders, I'm expecting a guy who with very little much of a challenge to put him back in the net.
But then again, with Jackson, his movement. I think that's one thing that we have to give him credit for. He's got really good movement. It's just the timing of his runs is not right yet. He's still not quite worked looking across the line, just knowing how quick you are and how and when to make your move so you stay onside. So, but for you, like, what do you think from Jackson going forward are positive things that Chelsea can build on? And do you think, because we've now heard today that João Felix is likely to come in, do you think Jackson will stay through the middle, or do you think he'll end up on the bench now? But what's your positives on Jackson, and then what's next for him?
I think Jackson's a very good player. There's a player in him. I backed him. I back him to score a lot of goals for Chelsea this season. I feel that he'll score more goals in the European Conference League than maybe Premier League, but he'll definitely get goals. Maybe in the cup competition he'll score more goals. I feel like he's got good movement. He's hungry. He's not a kind of striker that's gonna like flap his arms around. He's hungry, wants to win. He's only gonna get better. How old is he? 23, 24? Yeah. He's young. Like when Drogba came to the Premier League, his first season, it wasn't the Drogba that everyone knew about the following season. It took him a while to get used to the league. But once he got used to the league, he started scoring so many goals. I feel like he's got that rawness about him, man. I think that rawness will only get better. But the only way it's going to get better for him is that if Chelsea have patience with him. But I don't know if they're going to have patience with him because it's a result-driven business and they want instant success. The owners have spent an awful lot of money on players and they haven't seen anything for the returns yet. So sooner or later, they need to see some returns. So I feel that I would give him faith. I'll play him for 5-10 games, give him a consistent run, see how he does, and then if he doesn't do well, then maybe take him out the firing line for a little bit, bring him as an impact sub. If they're going to bring in if Jar Phillips is coming, then obviously you're going to start Jar Phillips because he's the big money signing, another big money signing for them. So you're going to have to play him more often.
And Jar Phillips is going to have to hit the ground running because the expectation now is that he's going to come in and do really well. Again, it's a bit of a strange one that Chelsea have done it because they've also got Mark Guigui, who they've got, and he came on off the bench. He looked quite good. I mean, I know he's only 18, so obviously he's got time on his hands, but it's just, I don't quite get the logic with their strikers or their signings. They got Christopher Nkunku as well, who didn't look the best yesterday or on the weekend. He tried. Didn't look the best, but he's a player that you know once he gets up to speed and gets informed. Because last year in preseason he looked very good prior to the injury. When he came back from injury, it's a bit hit and miss. But yeah, Chelsea have problems. I don't think they have a settled 11 yet, which is fair to Maresca. He's relatively new. He's trying to figure things out. But they need to get there and fast. And I know it's a tough game to start the season with against Man City, and we are being a bit, I guess we could say we're being a bit critical on how we assess their performance because that's the biggest team you're going to face this year. In terms of what Man City have achieved over the last few seasons. But at the same time, when you think about what Chelsea did against them last year, this feels like a regression. Yeah. But then again, like you said, a couple of chances here, a couple of chances there, things would have been very, very different. What would you do with the starting 11 for next match?
So the next game is absolutely crucial. Another Sunday, Super Sunday game. They got to get this right. Team-wise, there's not really much because of how much of the things we're signing, players we're signing in, and how many more games we're going to be playing because of Europe. We've got to make sure he needs to kind of figure out his best team, which is going to take some time considering how many players that he has. I'm not, as much as I admire Sanchez and I think that he's just number one, I'm still on the fence about him. He started off last season. He was shaky he was shaky, so I'm swapping him for Petrovic. I don't have much of a problem with the defense, and that I think there's got to be a space for Mudryk. We say that he needs to play, so I'll be starting Mudryk in there, like somehow, maybe on the left hand side. But then again, you got Lukaku, you got Nkunku, you got Neto again, but he's new. You want to give him his running time. It's so confusing. The main one I'm going to say is definitely Petrovic for Sanchez. I just think he had a good game against City. He had a good game, decent, but I just think he's got too much of a mistake. He's a bit too wobbly for me. Bit too wobbly for me at times. And I definitely have Mudryk in there as well. I think Levy's got a play again as well. He had a really good game. So if that's going to be the team that he wants, that's the main two changes I make: Mudryk and Petrovic.
Drop the goalkeeper.
Sanchez out. That's the only change you make.
Sanchez out. I'll put Pedro Neto in on the left. Maybe a pacey wing on the right. Put Cole Palmer as number 10. I would drop Enzo Fernandez. No, would I drop Enzo Fernandez? Yeah, I'll drop Enzo Fernandez for the next game and play Lavia and Caicedo. I want to see how that works.
Okay.
I want to see how it works with Cole Palmer,
as
Lavia.
ahead of them, Lavia and Caicedo as base.
I want to see how that works. And then left back, Cole Cucurella, I think he's injured now. So the young kid who came on yesterday, he looked all right. He looked decent when he came on. Colwell and
Fofana, Wesley.
I think them two need to get a better understanding because the first goal they conceded went past both of them, like they weren't even there. So they need to kind of tighten it up a bit at the back. Well, they have got Tosin on that they bought from Fulham on,
True.
so he can maybe come in some games and give them that assurance at the back. But other from that, I keep Costa has to be the number one starter for Chelsea now.
Oh, James is injured, so that's by default.
Even if Adrian comes back, I think he should be the number one starter. I think he gives more. He's more reliable. Doesn't get injured a lot, and he's fit all the time, and he's good going forward. That's a team I'll pick. And up front, I'll give Jackson another go and see what he does.
We're curious to see what Maresca does in their next match at the weekend. They have Wolves on Sunday, so we'll talk about our predictions for those games as well. Raheem Sterling. It's not just Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling and the other 20 players that didn't make the matchday squad at the weekend. I think a lot of people are taking the statement released by Raheem Sterling's management group in the wrong context. They're viewing it as Raheem is upset at not being played, which I don't think is quite accurate to what he was trying to say. I think ultimately how he feels is that he wasn't really given proper, information as to what's going to happen, which I think is a fair thing to say. At the end of the day, he really thought he would be in the team. He really thought that from the pre-season and how things went, he thought he'd be involved. And obviously, he had a chat with the manager who explained to him he's not going to play in that game. So I can understand why his team kind of put a statement out just asking for some clarity. And I think it's been taken as he's saying, I should be playing. I don't think that's what they've said. I think they were just trying to find out what's going on. Because the manager says he likes him. But it just feels like to find out on Friday that you're not playing on Saturday, it's not really the best timing. But how do you think Chelsea are really doing with their players and with all these signings? Do you think they're neglecting player well-being with their choices?
Yes. Whoever's the manager, the management, the people upstairs, they're not doing a great job. They're very, especially with the academy players like Conor Gallagher, done well for them last season. You got Chalobah as well, good player, done well for them. Then they've got so many players. It's a circus. It's actually a circus. Every week another player's coming in and more players not going out. So they got a bloated squad, and it's very difficult to ship the players out because they're on massive wages. Like Lukaku is on big wages. If they're going to get rid of Sterling, he's on massive wages. Who can afford his wages right now? But if I'm in Sterling's shoes right now, I would say, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to have a fresh challenge. Maybe he needs a fresh challenge from England and go somewhere else. I don't know where he will go, but
You think so?
I think he needs a fresh challenge. I think he's. My honest opinion, he's conquered. He's done everything he needs to do in England. He's won all the big trophies in England. He didn't win the Champions League, but he's won all the trophies in the Premier. He's won the FA Cup, won the Premier League. He's won the League Cup. I feel like he's fulfilled his potential. So I feel like maybe if he gets a move away, goes to another league, and try and do something there, make a name for yourself in another league. I think like Italy or somewhere like that, maybe Italy or Spain. Or maybe Saudi Arabia, because I don't think he's finished as a player because he's only 29 years old. He's not 30 yet. He's still got a lot more years left to go, but it's up to him how long he wants to play, and is he going to want to play in a circus of Chelsea right now? Because it is a circus right now, and it's like, it's not getting better. The owners don't know what they're doing. They're just buying players for the sake of buying players, not having a team structure. They're getting new managers in every season, not giving a manager enough time to build a squad and build a team. There's a lot of issues going on. And I don't know if he wants to be in that. At his age now, he wants to be winning trophies and leaving a legacy for himself. He's going to be a Hall of Fame Premier League player because of what he's done in the Premier League. No doubt about that. But is he going to want to sit on the bench or not be in the squad every week at Chelsea when he can get a move? Maybe go out on loan to buy something or somewhere.
I have a question then for you then. Would you take him at Arsenal? Because I've seen some Arsenal fans talking online about it, and a few of them have said they would. Some said they wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. What's your take? Would you take him?
Will I take him? Good player. Yeah. He's a very good player. And Arteta's worked with him in the past. He would do a good job. He could be a Saka backup. He wouldn't start ahead of Saka. Or he could rotate with Martinelli and Trossard
on the other side, yeah.
He would do a good job for the team. If he gets his head down, just focus on football, he'd be a good signing. If we had to buy him, he'd be on big wages. He might have to take a wage cut, but he would do a job for Arsenal. and I feel that like it'd be up to the manager if he wants to bring him to the club. But you can't be, if you come to Arsenal, you can't be making out statements like what he did yesterday. I don't know. I honestly feel that, I don't think he tried to disrupt the team in a way, but I feel that looking into it now, I feel like he should have just kept that in-house. But you know how it is with the media. Anytime you try to say something nowadays, it gets leaked out anyway.
But also, it wasn't him, it was his team.
I know,
Now, you can obviously, his team, he'd have been part of those discussions, what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And you're right, maybe it would have been better to be in-house. But at the same time, today, they're signing, what do I say, João Felix. So when you really look at it, is this statement really that wrong?
No.
Because he's right to say, what's going on? Well, let's get some assurances here because you keep buying players.
He is right, but I feel like, you know what, he have to look at it, like, he's been at Chelsea for 2 years, like, and he came to win trophies at Chelsea, I haven't won anything at Chelsea, and the project just keeps on getting worse and worse. It's not getting any better. Maybe it's time for me to know what, let me just say, you know what, let me just cut my losses and leave. Not because you don't like the club or you don't like, it's a chaos. It's best if you just leave and go somewhere else and rebuild his career and make a name for himself somewhere else. Because imagine you're working and every day you see new staff coming into your workplace every day. You're gonna feel on edge. You're gonna feel, oh, someone's gonna come and replace me. Maybe that's how you feel at Chelsea. Maybe you feel like you see all these new wingers, Pedro Neto coming in, this one coming in, João Felix coming in. Where am I gonna play? He's got Modric. I think he's got 5 or 4 players ahead of him in the pecking order right now. So even though he did well in pre-season, they done well in training, he's not gonna get minutes. Only if they had a lot of injuries, he might get minutes. But
And even then, they've not really had any of those so much so far. And even if they were to have injuries, they got other players they'll probably pick
ahead of him. So maybe it's best for him to just move on.
The Sterling omission, I think the way it's come about is like a weird one because he's a great player. He's a Premier League great. He's a Premier League legend. We said this last week. He's going to be in that top 50, maybe even top 30 of Premier League or like all-time players, you know, considering how the modern game has changed. And, you know, we're ever grateful to that. The guy is going to be a Premier League legend. I also think that his time at performing at a certain level where we're potentially going to be fighting for trophies and, you know, getting back to the winning feeling that we used to have. And, you know, with Enzo openly saying that he's not part of his plans, I also do think that it may be time for him to kind of move on. He did this to try and get back into the England fold, and it hasn't worked. It's gone backwards. For all the good that games that he has, the ones that the negatives are just too glaring to ignore, and it's a shame that he kind of has to go out like this and not get the kind of goodbye that he deserves. He's a great player. He's an amazing player. He's just not. I just don't think it's been handled in the best sort of way. I know that Juventus want to have a little crack at him when him go off to Italian football. He definitely deserves to compete at a high level. I'm not saying he should be going to Saudi or anything like that, but I just think that the Premier League now, I just think it's leaving him behind.
It's a shame for Sterling. He's a really great player, and I think the media have done a job on him in that people's perception of him doesn't reflect the reality of who he is as a person.
Definitely.
I think people have this view of this arrogant kid because of the fact he wanted to leave Liverpool at the time, and actually it doesn't really add up with what he's like. And obviously this statement is not going to help things. It's going to fuel that narrative. But his team, they made a choice, and maybe this is their way of maybe this is their first step towards a transfer request, because this feels like because the statement wasn't in and of itself bad. There's nothing really negative said in the statement. It's just a general we had a good preseason. We thought we'd be in the plans. You're not in the plans. What's going on? It's a general statement. Nothing really too bad about it. The timing's not lost on anyone. And so if Chelsea really don't see him in the future, they need to move him on fast. And he could work at North London. He might not. But again, next episode we're going to talk about that and all other players that potentially could make the move. And speaking of North London, let's talk about Arsenal now. 2-0 win at home. Thoughts on the game?
Great first half, second half, flat. Made too many individual errors. Other teams we play against will punish us. Saliba made an error, not like him. Martinelli, where do I start? He just needs to just focus on doing the right things on the pitch. Don't always try to go for goal all the time. Could have laid off the ball to Declan Rice. He got a 2-0.
He could have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that was his only shot in the match. So in a way, you're right. He could have laid it off. But I feel like I don't have an issue with him taking that shot because on another day, that same shot, a little nick, and it's over it's past the keeper. It's a very good save by the keeper. It's just unlucky. So I don't have an issue with that. My bigger issue is that he only had one shot. Why are we not able to create volumes of chances for him? And I think with with the potential Marino signing, that's part of what that will help to solve. But yeah, he could have cut it back to Declan Rice. But then again, in the game, the ball was cut back to Partey, 2 times? He had 2 fresh air shots. He had one he placed wide. I don't blame Arsenal for having a go. If we're 0-0, different conversation.
Yeah.
It was 1-0. He probably felt, okay, let me test the goalkeeper, see what I can do. So I don't have an issue with that. And Rice wasn't really in his line of sight at the point he shot. After he shot, Rice popped into picture. So
I feel that I feel like we do need 2 or 3 more signings just to once we get rid of some players as well, just to clear the book and then make the bench. I think the bench is getting even stronger now. I feel like we just need to get maybe a striker, winger, and maybe another.
So another midfielder ahead of Marino, or do you think Marino will be it?
Marino will be it.
Okay.
But I think we're doing another winger and a striker. But definitely a goal scorer.
Yeah, we'll talk about those in the next episode. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about it. But one player I do want to talk about is, of course, Kai Havertz. I think he started the season really well. I think he had a great year. Had a good Euros. Let's call it a great Euros. It was a good Euros. I think the fact that he started over Nicholas Füllkrug showed a lot. And I think some of the games he was unlucky not to score more goals.
Yeah.
I think he had a good Euros. Not the greatest Euros. I wouldn't say it was a great Euros for him. But I think he's shown now that in our team, definitely as a centre forward, strong option. I think in midfield, we'll have to wait and see. I think pre-season he looked sharp playing there in midfield with Jesus up front. So we'll see how that works going forward. But how impressed were you with how he took his goal and just how he kind of has been asserting himself this season?
He was brave for that header. Brave. He kind of reminds me of Thomas Muller. Like, Thomas Muller can play anywhere on the pitch. He can play right, left, through the middle. Havertz got that ability where he can score goals. But is he going to score 20 goals a season?
That's the question. Do you think he could do it? He's got the ability to. He's got the opportunity to.
He's got the ability to. Like on Saturday, he could have had a hat-trick. He could have scored 4 goals in the first half. I feel like, I don't know, when he gets in front of goals, he panics. Like, he'll get a header, and then he'll score a good header, he'll score a good goal, he'll score the hardest goal, and the easy chances will just either fluff them. But I feel like maybe working with a striker coach at Arsenal can help him score more goals. I think he can definitely get the numbers this season. He scored a lot of goals. How many goals did he get last season for us?
I think he got 15. Let me have a quick look.
In the Premier League.
He got 14 in the league last year.
That's not bad.
14 goals last season. Let me see the breakdown. But it's not bad as a starting point. Premier League got 13 and he got 1 in the
Champions League.
Yeah. So 14 overall.
So if you can improve that tally from last season,
if you can get to 18, we're talking.
Yeah, because that will get you over. That can get you from second place to first place. If you can we just need to score more goals. Get our strikers to score more goals. Like him and Jesus. If Jesus still stays at the club, needs to chip him with more goals. If Trossard can get more goals like last season, if Martinelli can get more goals, Saka will always score goals. Odegaard gets more goals. Get more goals from like Declan Rice. And Marino will get goals or assists. I think we're going to get goals from set pieces as well because we're good in the air from set pieces. So if the whole team can contribute goals, if we don't get a striker in, then that hopefully could get us over the line this season. A lot of the pundits are backed us to win the league this season, so this is our time to win it. But the only way we're going to win it, we have to score more goals. We have to beat Man City home and away.
We have to outscore them. But beating them will help. But yeah, we definitely have to outscore them.
We need not to lose to like teams that we should be beating. Like last season, we lost to Fulham, drew at home at Fulham, and lost away to them. Lost to Aston Villa home and away. Those results this season, we can't afford to drop any points. We have to have 100%. to win the league this season.
Yeah, and we got Villa coming up this weekend, so away as well. So we've got to have something for United Emery, because like the revisionism online about how Emery's time at Arsenal has been ridiculous. He was not a good Arsenal manager. Let's leave it at that. He's a good manager, but he was not a good Arsenal manager. And no amount of trying to change history is going to make any Arsenal fan change their mind who lived through the pain of Emery's time in charge of our club. Thomas Partey. I know it takes him a while to get started when he comes back from injury, or when just in general when he's building his fitness up. He looked good in the first half, like Thomas of old, playing some good passes, linking play, doing the stuff we want him to do, aside from missing his kick. Second half, he looked like retirement home Partey. And it does beg the question. I know he's got 1 year left on his deal. I know we're not looking, well, publicly we're not looking at any other players to replace him. But do you think that the club should move on from him? Or do you feel like there's enough, based on the first half performance, to keep him for this season only?
I think Partey's experience. He's got experience. He's won trophies at Atletico Madrid. He's got experience. Like, he's an experienced player. I think just keep the faith. I think what you have to do with him, don't play, like, try and rotate him this season a lot. If Mourinho comes in, rotate him. If you can play Mourinho 45, give Partey 45, do what you have to do is keep him on his, like, don't keep him sharp. He might not, because you're going to need him for the big games. Partey's a big game player. And I feel that if we get rid of him, we might end up regretting it. But let him, if he does well this season, wins the league, then he can say thank you very much. Thank you, all the best. Because and who in this late in the window now can we get to replace him anyway? This so late in the window. If they were thinking about replacing him, they should have done that in July. Give enough time to scout around the world and look for players who's similar to him, who could do the job. But I think Partey's a very good player. I'm not gonna say to the board to sell him, because he can definitely do it. He's got a powerful shot. He can pass the ball. He got them passes that Declan Rice doesn't have, where he can make them passes into the strikers. Something Declan Rice should learn from Partey. And he's solid, and he's a solid midfield player, solid number 6.
Yeah, a guy that would have been interesting to sign is Yusuf Fofana, but obviously he's now gone to AC Milan. But he would have been an interesting one to look at.
Yeah.
So that deal's now gone. We still hear all this talk about Frankie de Jong and Barcelona wanting to shift him on. So maybe if there's a cut price deal available, that could be something.
But the only issue with Frankie de Jong is he's getting a lot of injuries now, and he's only 26, 27 years old. He's getting a lot of injuries. He missed the Euros. He missed a lot of games last season for Barcelona. I don't know what it is with him, but he was not an injury-prone player before, but he's been a lot of injuries. And
it might be the environment. It might be the fact that he's not playing as much as he thought he would. It might be the fact that at Barcelona the preparation's not the same. He may just be not performing because of those factors. But yeah, you're right. His injury record is not good.
And we don't want another injury-prone player. I'm sorry.
No.
No.
But I think with Mourinho coming in, Partey there, Jorginho there, I think they might see that as enough. And then also you think about younger players like Miles Lewis-Skelly. You don't want to sign someone that's at a certain age, which is why Mourinho's deal is good, because he's 28.
Yeah.
So he won't block them in the long run. And also he gives us quality right now. And I think ultimately what the Mourinho signing shows is that the Havertz Xhaka replacement experiment has not worked, which is fine, because we found out that as a striker he's much better. And I feel like Mourinho in profile-wise, even though he's a different type of player to Xhaka, I think he brings a lot of Xhaka's qualities back to our team.
Yeah.
Passing, the movement off the ball, which I thought Havertz would have given us from the deep position last season, which he didn't do as much, which Xhaka brought really well the previous season when he was making those runs, and getting in the box and getting a chance to shoot and score. So Mourinho will bring that to the team. And I always liked it when he was at Newcastle, and I thought he looked like a player that could do a job for us, because he was okay there. Not the best, he was young, a little younger than he is now, but he was just silky on the ball. His passing, I thought this is a player there. And now finally he's going to make it to Arsenal, so we're glad about that. Liverpool, good football, very fluid, good attacking football. Defensively a bit shaky. Do you think they need... And also there's news about Joe Gomez. He's likely to be off. He's looking for a new club. He's exploring his options. They took off Kwanzaa at half-time. in the game at the weekend because they weren't happy about some of his performances. I think defensively they were a bit all over the place, Liverpool. Do you think that's a concern, or do you think they'll figure it out and tighten up for the end of the window?
I think they'll have to bring another centre back. I think Quanta's a young kid. He looked good last season, some games. And other games he made a lot of mistakes, he made a lot of errors. He's still young. When you're young, you're going to make mistakes. As a defender, you're going to make mistakes. So as a young defender, so the only way for him to go now to improve. Maybe they might loan him out for a season to get him to improve and whatever, and then bring him back next season or something. If they're bringing a centre back to replace him, replace Gomez, and they might bring a centre back to replace. Just to loan him out for a season. But I thought Liverpool played well on Saturday. They played very well in the second half. The first half, Ipswich were counter-attacking them a lot. It was like 2v1s all the time. Always attacking them, and they didn't have a clinical striker who could score goals for them. I think Hutchinson had a chance in the first half. He hit it straight at Alisson. They had a lot of chances. And I think the manager was very smart at half-time, made a substitution, got Salah firing. Salah got the assist for the first goal. He scored the second goal. Game over. Game done. 3 points in the bag.
I think defensively Liverpool looked fine, but there were some question marks around, taking Kwanzaa off and bringing on Canade. Some people don't like the decision that Slot made, but at the very least it shows he's proactive. And this whole question of would he have done it with a more senior player? Well, would a more senior player have found himself in that situation? The reality is Slot's job. See, I'm so set on Jurgen that I will never forget that guy's name. But Slot's job is to ultimately make a decision on what he thinks is the best decision for the 11 on the pitch at the particular time and what he can do to improve that. And that's what he did. And I don't understand the issue. The reality is that he made the best call that he thought was the best call, and we kept a clean sheet. So he wasn't wrong. And the reality is we may have gone to keep a clean sheet with Quanta on the pitch. We may not have done. We'll never know. But his job is to make the best decisions to get us the right result. And defensively, he made that call. Kanate came on, and we kept a clean sheet in the second half. So outcome in that scenario produced the right result. And I think you could see Van Dijk and Kanate was both very comfortable in the second half as well. So I think Kwanzaa's spot is up for grabs. I think it was always up for grabs beforehand, but even more so now. So I think Liverpool do need a new midfielder. Ideally, Zubimendi fell through, and the reality is Liverpool are in a situation where they probably need a new central midfielder, number 6. But as is always the case with Liverpool, they won't rush it. They'll go for they'll wait around, and they'll go for what they believe to be right. And if they miss out on 3 or 4 number 1 options, they'll as they have with the likes of Zubimendi and Tuchel and Moses Caicedo, then they'll do the same until the right man comes along.
Yep, and having Mo Salah back firing is always a good sign. He's going to be important for them and what they do this season. We mentioned about Liverpool in midfield and the challenges they've had so far. And I think we do think they probably need to do some work there. Who do you think that they should be looking to target? It's very tricky to say because we're late in the window. But do you think a player like a Conor Gallagher is a deal that they should probably look at, maybe trying to jump in and get involved in, or do you think there's other players they could probably look at and think?
I think Conor Gallagher would be a good player for Liverpool. I feel like his energy in the midfield. I think the midfield 3 don't have a lot of energy. Like McAllister's not the kind of guy who's gonna run long distances. He's more of a box-to-box player. Conor Gallagher's got the energy and the legs, and he's got the tackle. He's got a lot of energy, so he'll do a lot of running. He'll do all the donkey work. I think Gravenberch's the one to watch out for this season. I think he'll have a big season. They've paid a lot of money for him, so he's expected to have a big season this season. So maybe they're looking at it thinking, we don't want to bring anyone to stop him from progressing. So we see how it goes. We'll give him 6 months until January. And if it doesn't work out, we bring on a replacement, and maybe they might do that.
Possible. It's possible, but it's going to be a big one. Liverpool know what they need to do. They've got to make some big choices and tough decisions, but we'll see what they do. Let's look ahead to the weekend's games. Big games coming up this weekend. Saturday starts off Brighton versus Man United. What's your prediction?
2-1 Brighton.
Brighton, Man U, two teams that had, decent wins either way, especially Brighton. Very, very impressive, despite the loss of a few big names and Robert and De Zerbi as well. No European football, which means they can just concentrate fully on the league. Maybe go on a good trophy run, I don't know. So, this is a funny one. They've won in the past, but I could see this being I'm going to say a 2-2 draw between these two teams. I think they've got decent wins at the start. Oh yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2.
I think it will be a draw. Welbeck will score. Rashford will score. A draw. Either a 1-1 or a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. I think Brighton start the season well. They look good under their new manager. And I think Man United will have a hard time stopping them. So 2-1 Brighton.
Crystal Palace, West Ham.
Both two teams I expect to do well this season. Both two teams that let me down in game week 1 based upon the way they performed. I imagine, therefore, the safest bet is a draw. So we'll go 2-2.
Crystal Palace, VAR doing what VAR does best, which is spoil the party, costing us a great goal. I think they're going to be buoyed on for that. West Ham got a lot of new signings. Going to take a while to maybe gel just a little bit. I'm gonna say Crystal Palace bounce back. I say a 2-0 Crystal Palace and good old bounce back as they get a great goal.
I was at the Brentford. I was working at Brentford game yesterday. Palace were very unlucky not to get a point in that game. I saw Eze's free kick. Oh my gosh!
Should have been allowed.
Referee made a howler. Who they playing against?
West Ham.
West Ham were very unlucky against Aston Villa as well. It could have been 2-2 draw as well. Aston Villa got some good players in as well. Once they're gel, I'm gonna go for a draw, 2-2 draw.
I think West Ham might just nick it. But if Palace win, they win. Fulham, Leicester.
Fulham win.
Fulham really need to turn on the gears, and I think they can. I'd imagine at home they'll probably beat Leicester. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Fulham.
They've done a lot of business between the two clubs. Fulham have got a few players in. They got in likes of, Sessegnon came back, joining from Tottenham, and Devcover Reed, he swapped teams now. Leicester actually did really well against Spurs on Monday night, so this could be an interesting one. That being said, I'm going for 2-1. I'm going for 2-0 Leicester. 2-0 Leicester, especially after Vardy does what he does best.
Leicester, they're playing against Spurs as of recording, so we'll see how that goes. It's 0-0 at the moment. So we'll see what happens there, whether Tottenham, whether they can pull off anything or not. Harry Winks against his former club. Let's see if he has anything for them. Fulham, so that Man City versus Ipswich.
Man City win.
Such a cruel opening for the new boys. They put a great showing against Liverpool on Saturday. Unlucky not to come out with something, but they can hold their heads held high. This might be a bridge too far against the champions, but I am expecting them to put up a bit of a fight. I'm going to say 3-1 Man City. Yeah, 3-0 first, and then 1 at the end for Ipswich. So that's what I'm going to say for them.
Man City, Ipswich, Haaland domination, I expect, considering the fact that 3 years ago to this week, 3 of the 4 Ipswich Town defenders were playing Fleetwood and conceded 2. I really fancy Man City to pop in a few past Ipswich. So we'll go Manchester City 4, Ipswich 0.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think Ipswich will give them a game like they gave Liverpool a game, but I think Man City have just got too much for them. Southampton versus Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest win.
Southampton Forest, I think could quite well be a draw. So we'll go 1-1.
So they got it was an eventful in the tunnel with the beef between Southampton and Newcastle. So that was eventful. I think Forest they're going to really. I think they quite might struggle this year. Last season they really left it right towards the end. Letting go Steve Cooper. A lot of fans didn't like that. They got in Nuno, who was taking a while to kind of gain the trust of the fans. So they really need to be doing something this season. So I'm going to say, though, Southampton are possibly going to kick on. I can see a 1-0 1-0 Southampton win. Get the first home game. Give them something to think about, and I think it's going to be quite a struggle for Forest.
Yeah, Forest have the experience. They should get the win, but it's Southampton at home, so I'll put Southampton to win. I just think they might. I want them to stay up this season, so maybe I'm misguided, but I want them to do something in that match. Spurs versus Everton.
I expect Spurs to win comfortably. I know Spurs can get off to the best start, but Everton are the worst attack in the league. So I'm going to go 3-0 Spurs.
Spurs versus Everton. Everton's last year at Goodison. They've been skating on that relegation line for far too long right now. The last thing they want to do is moving into a new stadium. Spurs, as always, going to have lofty ambitions for their club. Getting into Europe, potentially run with a trophy. I don't know. Could have done more against Leicester, but Leicester came fighting in the first home game. So I'm going to call this one as I think Spurs might come out of this with a bit of sense of purpose. I'm going to say a 3-0 to Spurs. I'm going to say 3-0 to Spurs.
Depends on the result tonight. But I think so. Everton lost the other day. I think they lost 2-0 against Brighton, wasn't it? Everton's kind of a bounce back team. They lose a game like last season. They lost a game, then they're gonna win a game. I think it's gonna be a draw. I heard a draw.
No, it was 3-0 against Brighton.
3-0.
Yeah.
I heard it's gonna be a draw. 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Spurs Everton. Depends which Spurs turns up. That's all I can say about that. Aston Villa Arsenal.
I think will be a tough game for both teams, but I feel as though Arsenal might just about nick it this time. So 1-0 Arsenal.
A case of revenge for the Arsenal. This is a fixture you could say that arguably cost them going off and lifting the title last year. Aston Villa, of course, had a fantastic season, getting into the Champions League. They've made some big signings. They've let go of some big players. Arsenal still have some. They've proved that the guys they have are more up to the job, but to get them across that line finally, they're going to need potentially a little bit more. This could be a narrow win. I'm going to give it to Mikel Arteta's men. I'm going to give it a narrow 2-0, similar to how Ipswich and Liverpool. It's going to be a narrow one, 2-0 to the Arsenal.
I'm going for a 2-1 win, Arsenal.
I think we need to win. Villa are going to give us a game.
I think Villa will score, but we're going to win 2-1.
And then on Sunday, we've got Bournemouth versus Newcastle.
I don't fancy a clean sheet for either. I'd expect there to be goals, but I think I'd expect Newcastle to win just about. I'll go 3-1 Newcastle.
1-1 draw.
So Bournemouth, Newcastle, contrasting fortunes with both clubs. One has seemingly managed to keep their star striker, while the other one has lost theirs to spread around the club. Both kind of meeting in the middle a little bit. Bournemouth had a great season last year, finishing in the top. Obviously, Solanke's goal really helped them out, getting up into the top half of the table. Losing him is a big loss, and it's going to take a while for their new signings to really gel into the new system that the manager has. He's a good manager. Yep, good season. I'm going to call. But I also think that Newcastle are going to be buoyed on from the disappointment from the Champions League last year. I'm going to want something better. And let's say if Eddie Howe is called up for that England job, he's going to go up for on a high. I'm going for a 1-0 Newcastle. Late win.
Going for a Newcastle win. Wolves against Chelsea.
I think it's the opportunity for Chelsea to get things underway, but I still don't think they know their right squad yet and their best set of players. I'm actually going to go 1-0 Wolves.
Chelsea, Wolves at Molineux. We've taken one of their players. We're going back to a ground that we really don't like over the last few years. We got battered by them twice last year. I would love to say that we're going to go there and absolutely batter them, but I just don't think it's going to be straightforward. But I do think we're going to win. I think we're going to learn a lot from, bear in mind we've got a midweek game as well back in Europe, so it'd be a good chance to kind of balance out the squad and see the players that he has. So I'm going to have some faith here. I'm going to back my club. I'm going to say it's a 2-1 win for the Chelsea, but they will score first. I don't think Neto is going to score, but I think Cole Palmer might finally get off the mark.
Pedro Neto could come back and haunt his former club.
I think Chelsea have to get 3 points there. if they want to stand a chance of making it
Well,
to Europe.
I think Gary Neville's a very good manager. And I feel like he'll know how to play against Chelsea. So I think 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. And then lastly, Liverpool versus Brentford.
Brentford always give Liverpool a tough game, but Liverpool do look good, and I think Liverpool have gears to be able to turn to. So I will go Liverpool 3, Brentford 1.
Both teams, of course, won last weekend. Up in the air about Tony. Apparently, the Premier League is not interested, so it could be potentially on the way out for Saudi. This could be a chance for him to really show his worth in the, of where he could potentially end up. I do still think there's a place for him in the Premier League, if not Europe. But Liverpool showed their old guard show again. They come up and they perform. They did really well and impressive against Ipswich. This is going to be a tight game. This is potential to be a high scorer. Potentially a 3-2 to Liverpool. They're just going to edge it, but I think Brentford, they're going to have they become a bit of a mainstay in the Premier League. But I think this game they might struggle. So yeah, 3-2 Liverpool.
I love Brentford.
Tony probably won't play again because there's obviously talk about his transfer.
Yeah, to Saudi Arabia apparently.
Or somewhere else in the
Or
Prem.
somewhere else, I don't know where. Brentford against Liverpool. I think that's going to be... You think Liverpool win because I think Liverpool get a home win for that one. I think Liverpool win that one.
Yeah, I think for their title ambitions, I think they'll also get 3 points as well. I want to have Matthew's hot take. What's your hot take?
It's not going to be about necessarily a team or a player. It's going to be about managers. Every year we say a manager is going to lose their job. Every year we say a manager is going to find the chop. I mean, even the likes of Klopp last year, Pochettino, maybe even Ange crossing over to another club. How even Pep found himself at the threat possibly of having his head chopped. It can happen. But this year, I don't know. There might be something a little bit different with the sustainability of football and why I want a little bit more and, trusting the process, a coined phrase now for many clubs of trusting the process in their teams and understanding that, that the care for our players and our managers is just that. My hot take could be that we don't actually see any managerial casualties. Whether that's ever happened before, I'm not sure. But that's my hot take for the week. I think we might start with the managers, that we might end with the managers. There are going to be some underperformers. Ten Hag is going to be watched under. Maresca is definitely going to be watched under. Kieran McKenna, just getting promoted. He'll be watched. Steve Cooper coming into a very high-performing Leicester from the Championship. The manager at Southampton, I can't remember who he is, but he, obviously watching him. There's going to be his eyes everywhere. And then there's, of course, Mikel Arteta. Third time's a charm for going for that big old trophy. So, yeah. But you never know. Stranger, crazier things have happened. So this year might be the year that there are no managerial casualties.
And that's that from this week's episode. You hear the thoughts of Mark. You would have heard the thoughts of Mark and Matthew on their teams and their results. And we'll be back with another one. And we'll see whether the Spurs actually can do anything in this match. Currently, it's still 0-0 as of recording. And frankly, it can stay that way for all parties concerned. I think everyone will be happy with that, unless you're a Spurs fan. And we'll be back here next week.
Peace.